Funding is provided in part by PHILANTHROPIES, Inc., committed to the well-being of the greater Milwaukee community through employment, Alzheimer's and healthy aging, and arts programs.
Hello, I'm Portia Young. Welcome to the symphonic celebration of the Milwaukee Symphony's new home here at the new Bradley Symphony Center on Wisconsin Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. The once Warner Grand Theater Movie Palace is now where you will hear great performances from the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra. It's a big night for the orchestra, their supporters and attendees, as well as the city of Milwaukee. I'm in the beautiful lobby just outside the Allen Bradley Concert Hall. Inside the historic hall is where the Symphony will perform their grand opening concert in just about 30 minutes in front of a full house for the first time since March 2020. And those at home will enjoy the performance live here on Milwaukee PBS following this program, so don't go anywhere. Inside the concert hall, you feel like you're back in the 1930s with all this stunning decor. The Symphony raised $89 million to acquire and renovate the theater, office tower, and build out 2 new additions. All that work began back in June of 2018. Let's find out more about the vision and now what's come to be.
"90 years ago, this building was built for the people of Milwaukee to enjoy movies and be entertained. 60 years ago, the Milwaukee Symphony was founded to provide a place for people to enjoy art. And here we are now about to realize the dream of having this new Symphony Center open, not for the Milwaukee Symphony, but for the people of Milwaukee."
We are restoring a masterpiece of a 1930 movie palace, and I think the city of Milwaukee is going to be super impressed with what the Symphony has done to restore the original fabric of the theater and what it's done to adapt it to its own needs and uses.
This building is part of the 1930s movement for movie palaces. When people would come to the movies for a full experience, they would immerse themselves in the art and the beauty even before they got to see the screen. And this building is a really gorgeous example of that. It has a couple of different decorative styles all within this one historic building. When you walk in the theater, you're in a beautiful Art Deco lobby with aluminum leaf finishes that shine in the light, with gold glazes that really make it glow, with almost floor-to-ceiling mirrors with distinctive etching. And right from the minute you walk in the door, you feel that beauty and that special drama and glamour that is such an important part of the building. As you move through, you come into the house where the movie screen would be, and it's a completely different style. It's more of a French Renaissance style. So over-the-top, ornate plaster work with murals and romantic figures on the walls, really reinforcing that glorious, glamorous feel that going to the movies can have. Over the years, since 1930, a lot of things have happened here, and it's the natural life cycle of a building to need some work from now and then.
It sounds simple at first. Take an old theater, turn it into a concert hall, and add the modern amenities, because there were like 3 bathrooms and no elevators in the building. This building lived through the Industrial Revolution, so it had picked up a lot of city grime along the way. The basement had flooded in 1996, and then add to it the complexities of the acoustics. and how precise everything had to be, how all additions had to be isolated from the theater hall. No one wants to hear something going on in the addition when you're during a concert. All those things together added a rich texture of constraints that, as a designer, we thrive on.
This is unique in that it is one project, but really it's 5. So we look at it as the North Addition, the East Addition, the South Addition, the interior existing hall renovation, and then this office tower renovation as well. It seems like the first third of the project, it goes super fast because you're putting foundations and you're putting the structure up. You're doing all these visual things that you can see. Moving the wall is a clear one. That wall was always going to get moved.
Moving the wall became one of the main driving parameters, not only for the volume of the theater itself to be able to become a symphonic hall, so establishing that volume, but then it was a negotiation and working through how narrow the street could be and how much stage we needed to actually function as a symphonic hall.
Now, it was a requirement of the Park Service. That's why we had to do it, because we couldn't mimic a historic wall, so we had to move it. So we got to the wall move day. That night, it was actually tied into the final resting spot. Overall, it went well. Then the middle third always seems to go slow, and that middle third is kind of all the infrastructure that's going in. It's putting up walls that you know, there's no drywall on, so you can see right through. It's all the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, AV, all those things are happening, but it visually doesn't look like you're progressing. The last third now, which is kind of the fun piece where all the finishes and everything starts tying and coming into the project. You can see from week to week, it's gonna go quick now, and it's gonna start showing what the design is and what this is really gonna be.
A first pass for our artists was to come through and do a deep cleaning, a very careful cleaning with specific chemicals that would remove the dirt and dust, but leave the original paint intact. The second portion for us was to restore any pieces that were missing. If areas of a decorative finish had fallen off the wall, our artists would come in and replicate those faithfully. So that at the end of the project, what you're going to see is the finishes the way that you saw them back in 1930. Having a project like this, of this scale, size, complexity right in our backyard, it's a really great example for us to show off our skills.
There aren't many spaces left in the world that have the design that this has. We saved a very unique historic building, which is something to be proud of. This is a legacy project for all of us.
The Bradley Symphony Center will soon be a landmark. As you can see, the grandeur of this theater is remarkable. We're really, really excited about the Milwaukee Symphony's new chapter and hope that people across the community, state, and country will be inspired and moved by the performances which will soon begin at the Bradley Symphony Center.
The MSO has come a long way since it played its first concert 62 years ago. Filling a void created by the Chicago Symphony Orchestra's decreased number of concerts in Milwaukee, the MSO became an outgrowth of the Milwaukee Pops Orchestra. It was time that the 10th largest city in the country had its own symphony.
From a humble orchestra with less than 20 resident musicians in 1959, the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra has grown into a major organization with its own home. Its first permanent conductor was Harry John Brown. Former principal bassist Roger Ruggieri remembers Brown.
It was a very exciting time. You know, Harry John was a very personable conductor. He was, I remember standing next to him in reception lines and seeing how well he handled people. I mean, it was incredible.
As the orchestra grew in size, they hired the undaunted Kenneth Schermerhorn as its conductor in 1968. Under Schermerhorn, the orchestra traveled to Carnegie Hall for the first time. and made their first recordings.
Schermerhorn was very dramatic. He would never be sitting here like this. He'd be up and walking around and running and gesticulating, and he was a highly charged character. You know, at that time, we played a number of concerts at Carnegie Hall and took the orchestra, we took the chorus, et cetera, et cetera. Really, really good response from New York City. And he did an interview in the New York Times in which he referred to himself as being a big fish in a small pond. That, for as catchy a phrase as that is, that seemed to seal his death warrant here.
The sometimes controversial Schermerhorn era lasted 12 years, and he was succeeded by Berlin-born Lukas Voss, who was a composer, pianist, and conductor. The immensely talented Voss took the orchestra to Europe for the first time in 1986. Voss was succeeded by the Czech Zdeněk Makal, who traveled the orchestra to Carnegie again and did an international tour to Japan in 1992. He played a key role in raising the quality of the orchestra. German-born Andreas Delfs renewed the MSO's community outreach tradition and took the MSO on a major groundbreaking trip to Cuba, becoming the first major orchestra to visit the island in 40 years. After his 12 years, he was succeeded by the world-renowned Dutchman Edo de Waard, who hired many of today's MSO players. In 2012, former principal trumpeter Mark Niehaus became the orchestra's president, bringing management and musicians closer than ever.
People were shocked when we chose a member of the orchestra, and in fact, Mark was the head of the local union. So we made the head of the local union the CEO. And, Mark, we knew he was smart. We knew he was passionate for the orchestra and the organization. We knew he was articulate. But as we talked about it, I really learned how thoughtful he was about the future of orchestras. And I learned that Mark is willing to push for change and push for growth.
Niehaus inherited a perilous financial situation.
Despite being well managed, despite being efficient, and no amount of cost discipline could overcome two fundamental challenges that the symphony had. The first was that we didn't have a venue that supported our business model. And the second is that we weren't properly capitalized. We had a weak balance sheet.
The orchestra was in a concert hall that was built for the orchestra, but was being used more and more for Broadway and outside performances. We have a very small endowment, and because we couldn't get into our building in the weeks that we needed to, our earned revenue suppressed as well. So we were very overbalanced on contributed revenue. So with this building, we have solved the earned revenue piece.
And the building project was made possible with the support of an iconic Milwaukee family.
$53 million of the campaign to build the Bradley Symphony Center came from one family group. David and Julie Eline. David, who is the grandson of Harry and Peg Bradley, and their family foundation, the Bradley Foundation, also contributed a large amount. So you put all that together, and it's about half of what we needed to do this project. So and without them, this wouldn't have happened.
German-born Ken David Mazur is the latest MSO's music director and conductor.
I saw him in Boston, I saw him in New York, I saw him several places. And actually one of the first times I saw Ken, he was at his Chelsea Music Festival in New York, and Aaron Deal, who's playing tonight, was on that performance as well. I mean, who knew, not only was I seeing I kind of knew I might be seeing my next music director, but also our artistic partner as well.
What Ken David brings to the table is this incredible passion for the art form. He loves to play music. He loves to sing music. He brought his family to the city. They live here now. We were looking for someone who would be a leader in the arts in Milwaukee, not just a conductor of great concerts.
With a new home and a new conductor, this weekend begins a new era for the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra. At last, the orchestra has a facility equal to its artistic achievements.
It's going to be amazing to hear the appreciation going from the stage
and back to the stage. The appreciation in music going that way, and the appreciation and applause coming this way. Because we've waited a whole year now.
Ken David Mazur is the Symphony's 7th resident music director who will conduct the orchestra tonight on this stage. Mazur came from a family of accomplished musicians.
I was born into a musical family. My mother and father met while performing together, actually in Rio de Janeiro, of all places. And they settled in Germany, in Leipzig, and I grew up with the sounds of singing and piano playing and the chorus, because I was then also a member of the children's chorus of the Gewandhaus.
Hear much more from Ken David Mazur coming up during the intermission of tonight's concert. The conductor is certainly important for a successful performance, as are the dozens of musicians who comprise this orchestra. Several of the younger musicians talked to us about their new home and their hopes for the future in bringing new, diverse music and audiences to this hall.
Playing in a symphony orchestra is like being part of a big family that just gets to make music together week after week. There are some concerts that are just completely soul-fulfilling and, make us feel like we are living our dream. And some concerts are, more like a job. And I think that balance is what makes it really special.
I think there's an immense amount of pride when you remember both your own journey and then everyone else's journey to get to where you are in this orchestra. So that's a really special feeling. Everyone had to work really hard to get here. And it's really cool, like Alana said, to be part of that family.
I feel incredibly fortunate to be able to do this for a living, to come to work and sit on a stage with some 70 other musicians who've worked so hard. I love listening to a live concert from the audience, but I feel like we have the best seat in the house, actually just sitting on the stage and being part of that sound and that collaboration between us.
The amount of alignment we have between board, management, staff, and musicians is really enviable from the standpoint of most other orchestras. The relationships that we've cultivated over the years are just really terrific and very copacetic, so I greatly appreciate that.
I was kind of speechless, to be honest, when I first walked in, when it was finished. We had our rehearsal for the first chamber music concert in February, and I hadn't been in it finished, and it was just I was kind of awestruck. And then playing the first couple notes in here, warming up, it was like, oh my gosh. It just takes your sound and envelops it and carries it, and it's really, I have like chills remembering those first couple notes that I played in here.
We've all played on multiple halls throughout the world, and some are amazing and some are less amazing. And when you step into another orchestra's hall, you kind of get a glimpse of what it's like to be in that orchestra. But when you get your own hall, it's kind of like trying on a garment of clothing that was designed for your body, not just a nice piece of clothing that may or may not fit you. But being in a hall that was actually made for the Milwaukee Symphony, it feels like we can shine and be our best selves in this hall because it was made for us.
I am most looking forward to seeing a concert hall full of other human beings. I've missed that a lot.
There is really no substitute to looking out and seeing a full house. I'm excited to feel that palpable energy again.
I know we're playing Firebird Suite, and so that's a piece that I think a lot of us have played before. Will need to be practiced for sure, but there are 2 or 3 other pieces I know for sure I've never heard of before, which is exciting.
Before the interview today, I've already spent like 2 hours on technique alone. Being a bass player, it's a little different. I mean, I can expect to spend like probably at least 4 hours a day, minimum.
I used to practice that long, but as a woodwind player, our chops are a little bit more sensitive and can only last a certain amount of hours per day. Now it's more like 2 or 3 hours a day. But the additional work that goes into preparing for an orchestral week or something like an audition or a competition or a recital is studying the score and doing your homework outside of the orchestra.
It's funny, you know, sometimes meeting non-musicians, a lot of times what I'll hear is, you know, oh, you've gotten this good, aren't you set? Like, don't you get to this point and then you don't have to practice anymore because you're already that good, right? So I think it's funny that a lot of people don't realize how much, continuous work it takes.
Pressure is a real thing in this line of work.
There's a lot of things that are very akin to training for the Olympics that we do on a regular basis. And so we train with people who are sports psychologists.
Orchestra music can be universally appealing, if people are given the chance to hear it. And I think an example of that is film music. People are used to being totally moved by the music in film scores. And that's basically the same type of music that we play in our concerts. And I think there's maybe just a certain stuffiness that maybe keeps people from coming to some concerts, and maybe some financial barriers too, that I really hope that we can overcome to make sure that everybody has a chance to explore this music. We want to make our organization as strong as we possibly can, and I think we're going to be much stronger if we have a more diverse orchestra and we're playing music that represents our day and age.
There can be a barrier with classical music. It feels like you have to attain a certain level of education, have a certain class structure that you're born into in order to appreciate it. And in looking at my life, of course, coming from a rural blue-collar community, that's not true. What allowed me to appreciate it was just the opportunity to be open to it. So that's my hope for both the city of Milwaukee and the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra, that we can cultivate situations where people can come, hear us play, and really be open to that. And the real power of music is that it cuts beyond our conceptual thoughts, and it touches things that we can't necessarily put to words, but we can feel, and it can change how we interact with the world, and that's incredibly powerful.
By the way, the first violinist and acting concertmaster Ilana Setapin had her baby, a boy, and will be performing in tonight's concert. Perfect timing. I'm inside the lovely new pavilion at the Bradley Symphony Center, where guests can gather and socialize. The atrium and event space overlooks Wisconsin Avenue. That's been called the heartbeat of Milwaukee's downtown, even though it's lost some luster over time. But that's all starting to change, thanks to the Symphony's historic reinvestment project. Milwaukee PBS producer Scotty Lee Myers explores the MSO's impact on all of Wisconsin Avenue.
This is Wisconsin Avenue, Milwaukee's Main Street. It's where we gather to celebrate the end of the war, a World Series victory, civil rights progress, the Great Circus Parade, and most recently, an NBA championship. And now it's where we go to hear the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra. It's a welcome addition to the Avenue, where new development projects are reaching a crescendo.
today it is a parade for two. I am Milwaukee PBS producer Scotty Lee Myers. Next to me, this is Bobby Tanzillo, senior editor and writer at onmilwaukee.com. We are outside the beautiful Warner Grand Theater, the new home of the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra. What does a project like this mean for all of Wisconsin Avenue and the surrounding neighborhood?
I think this could be a really catalytic kind of project for this kind of neighborhood. This is sort of the spotlight is on this one because it's such a beautiful theater that sat empty for so long and people worried what was going to happen with this place. And now really the best possible outcome has happened.
Yeah, it's great. We have a cruiser behind us. What do
All
you
right.
say we hop in?
Go for a ride?
Yeah, you can lead us on a little tour. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. Let's go.
All aboard. Right out the window here, we got the new and improved The Avenue.
Yes.
We talked with Josh Kersnack. He's really led an effort to revitalize this old shopping mall.
Yeah, he really has. And he's done a great job rethinking what it means because, you know, people have tried in the past to kind of bring it back to life, but they tried to bring it back to life by sort of doing the same thing that wasn't working before.
So when I first started coming here, what I noticed about Wisconsin Avenue was how vibrant the city could be because it's right on the river. And if you look, we're a block or two away from the Third Ward. And I saw all that activity there, and it just confused me why there was nothing going on here, because it really should. You're seeing investments left and right. And when you have Grave plus a food hall, you can start getting some real traction. One thing that was really great is Steve Chernoff and his team called me, and he said, we're looking to build a new symphony orchestra across the street. It's going to be really important to the city. It's going to be great for your project.
The MSO project has really been a catalyst. Grave engineers, they decided to move into the new avenue because of the MSO project. I think we can bring back and have begun to bring back some of the glory of the old days.
What do you think is in store for Wisconsin Avenue in the next 5 to 10 years? What do you see?
Well, I'm more excited now than I've been in a long time about it, just because there's such a sort of cresting wave of things happening. You've got the MSO Bradley Symphony Center, got apartments into the Plankington Arcade, which was a lot of empty space for a long time. So you've got more people living downtown. You've got the expansion of the convention center beginning. The Riverside is alive and well, right? I mean, there's just all this stuff happening in, oh, wait, how could I forget Milwaukee Tool? Their office is coming downtown. They're gonna bring hundreds of jobs to downtown.
How do you think a redevelopment effort like what we're seeing along Wisconsin Avenue is like a great symphony orchestra? How are they related?
Well, I think they're related in the fact that, you know, you in the symphony, I'm going to get the number of people wrong here, but you have, you know, 100 people, 100 plus people who are all doing their one seemingly little bit. If you could solo out each instrument, you know, everybody's maybe doing one little thing, but together, they're all coming together to create this big sort of magical, majestic sound, right?
Yeah. All right, we are back where we started at the beautiful Warner Grand Theater. Bobby, thank you so much for a great tour.
Thank you, Scotty.
Much obliged. Portia, excitement is building here as the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra is about to kick things off in their new home. I think that calls for a toast. What do you think, Bobby?
I think so.
As we kick it back to Portia here, cheers.
Cheers to Milwaukee.
To Milwaukee.
My glass is empty, but cheers right back at you and to the MSO. That wraps up this celebration, but there's much more moments away live from the Bradley Symphony Center.
Funding is provided in part by Bader Philanthropies, Inc., committed to the well-being of the greater Milwaukee community through employment, Alzheimer's and healthy aging, and arts programs.